Now, recent studies show that 2/3 of us don't get enough sleep, and the consequences of this are massive, including an increased risk of developing cancer, dementia and heart disease.
Well, here to tell us how we should get more sleep is neuroscientist and best-selling author Matthew Walker. In fact, we ran a poll this morning. Do you think you get enough sleep? Yes, 15%. No, 85%.
That's an awfully high.
So why do we sleep?
Well, we sleep for an abundant constellation of nighttime benefits. We used to ask the question, what is the purpose of sleep, as if there was one single function. That's the equivalent of saying, why are we awake? Well, we're awake for lots of reasons. The same is true for sleep. And in fact, now we've had to upend that question and ask, is there any process within your brain or any tissue or organ within your body that doesn't benefit from sleep? And the answer seems to be no.
So it really is the bedrock of your health. So you say you should prioritise sleep above everything.
Well, I think it's part of that equation of, a balanced life together with diet and exercise. But, I used to say that sleep was the third pillar of good health alongside those two other things. But the evidence actually says that's not true. It's the foundation on which those two other things sit. And I can give you an example. If you're trying to lose weight and manage your body weight, but you're not getting sufficient sleep, 70% of all the weight that you lose will come from muscle and not fat if you're not getting sufficient sleep.
Wow.
Because your body becomes stingy in giving up that fat when you are underslept. So dieting becomes ineffective. Also, when you try to exercise, you exercise in a far less efficient way. You don't burn the same number of calories. Yeah. If you're underslept, far more likely to go through injury risk.
Yeah.
You can't sustain your peak physical activity without sleep. So it really is that foundation. It's not a third pillar.
And also profound health problems later on in life.
That's true. So every disease that is killing us in the developed world has now significant, and some of them causal links to a lack of sleep. That list includes cancer, Alzheimer's disease, diabetes, depression, cardiovascular disease, stroke. So, it's fascinating. As you've seen this pernicious erosion of sleep time across the last century, we've seen many of these diseases escalate. Now, I'm not suggesting that they're all simply related to a lack of sleep, but is sleep a causal part of that disease equation? Absolutely.
So the last 70 years, so this is what you were just talking about there, is this sleep loss epidemic that they say. And in the last 70 years, we have begun to sleep less. We've cut off a huge chunk of our sleep. So say in the 1930s, how long would we be on average sleeping?
Yeah, so back in 1942, they did a great survey and they looked and they found that the average adult was sleeping 7.9 hours a night.
Okay.
Now we know that number is closer to 6.5 hours a night during the week for most adults.
Yeah.
And Mother Nature, over millions of years of evolution, has programmed us to need that 8 hours, I'm assuming. So over such a short space of time, we've shaved 20% off the amount of time we sleep. And that has to be having a massive detriment to it.
That's exactly right. I mean, it took Mother Nature 4.4 million years to put this thing called the necessity of an 8-hour night of sleep in place. And you're right, within the space of, 80, 90 years, we've taken away 20% of that need. How could that not come with deleterious sickness and disease consequences? That's exactly what we're seeing.
Can you ever get lost sleep back? Like, can you catch up on your sleep?
Wouldn't it be lovely to think that sleep was like the bank, that you could accumulate a debt and then hope to pay it off at a later point in time? It's not like that. We now know that you can't get back that which you've lost. So even if I deprive you of sleep for an entire night, you will try to sleep longer the second night, but you will never make up that 8 hours that I took away. So there is no system, there's no credit system in the brain where you could store up sleep and then spend it when you go into debt. It's not like that.
You're going to be here to take calls a little bit later on, so if you are having issues with sleep, then there's all the details that you need. Just in the last sort of minute or so, your top 5 tips for a healthy night's sleep. You say keep a constant sleep schedule. I mean, you've sort of answered that one, haven't you?
Regularity is absolutely key.
Keep your bedroom dark.
Yeah, we are a dark-deprived society in this modern era, and we need darkness to release a hormone called melatonin that helps the timing of your sleep. So in the last hour or two before bed, stay away from screens and dim down half of the lights in the house. You don't need them all blazing right up to the point where you go to bed. So darkness is good.
Coolness, cool bedroom, about 18.5 degrees.
Yeah, colder than most people think, but your body needs to drop its temperature by about 1 degree Celsius to initiate sleep. And that's the reason you'll always find it easier to fall asleep in a room that's too cold than too hot.
I can't sleep in a warm room.
Right, too cold is taking you in the right thermal direction, so keep it cool is the next one.
Don't lie in bed awake.
Yeah, it's a common mistake people make. And what happens if you lie in bed awake too long, your brain learns the association that being in bed is about being awake. So you need to break that association, get out of bed, do something else, only come back to when you're
Very
sleeping.
quickly, caffeine and alcohol?
Yeah, caffeine, obviously most people know it's a stimulant. Even after 12 hours, a quarter of that caffeine remains. So that would be like having a coffee at noon, and then by midnight, a quarter of it's still there. Alcohol fragments your sleep. It also blocks your dream sleep. So a nightcap, you think it helps you sort of fall asleep, it sedates you.
Oh, amazing.
This is the book, Why We Sleep. It's all in there, and you are back for our phone a little bit later on. So
I will be
thank you
indeed.
very much
Thank
indeed.
you.